You've seen it. A CEO quickly answers a problem in a hallway, or an athlete makes an adjustment on the fly, making it look like they have special confidence wiring. But what if you could make decisions with that same ease? Let's explore why top performers can decide in 3 seconds and how you can use their structure to start making progress today. You've seen it. A CEO hears a problem in a hallway and answers before the other person finishes the sentence. An athlete gets one weird bounce and adjusts like they planned it. It looks like confidence, like they've got some special wiring you don't. Then you sit down to pick your next step, and suddenly you need more tabs, more opinions, more just to be safe research. And 3 days later, you're still stuck. But now you're tired too. That gap isn't intelligence, and it isn't motivation. It's decision structure. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to break down what those top performers do in their head, why your brain drags simple choices into full-on projects, and a clean 3-part framework you can use today to decide faster without turning into a reckless person who moves. Most ambitious people don't fear work. You'll grind for hours once the path feels clear. The problem is the moment before that, when you have to choose, because choosing kills alternatives, and your brain treats that like loss. So instead of picking, you start buffering. You collect info, you ask friends, you make a comparison doc, you scroll reviews, you chase that one more detail that will finally make the choice feel clean. But that feeling doesn't show up because you're not missing information, you're missing permission. Your mind isn't asking, what's the best move? As much as it's asking, what will this say about me if it goes wrong? That's why the slowest decisions are usually the ones tied to identity. The email to a senior person, the proposal you want to be proud of, the switch that would make you look like you're committing to a lane. Elite performers still feel uncertainty. They just don't bargain with it all weekend. They run a structure that turns the question from what's the perfect answer into something solvable, like what am I optimizing for and what risk actually matters. Once your brain has a shape, it can move. Picture a CEO walking into a meeting and getting hit with a problem they didn't plan for. The launch timeline just slipped. A partner's angry. The team wants direction. And the room turns toward one person like that person controls gravity. A weak leader reaches for comfort. They start polling everyone, asking for more context, requesting a deck, turning the decision into a group therapy session. And while that's happening, the team's energy drains because nobody knows what to do next. A strong leader forces the problem into a smaller box. Fast. They ask, what's the real constraint here? Time, cash, trust, or capacity? Because each one implies a different move. Then they separate decision types. Is this a door we can reopen, or is this a door that locks behind us? That single label tells them how much caution belongs here. Then they test urgency. If we do nothing for 48 hours, what breaks first? Not what feels bad first, what actually breaks. Notice what they don't do. They don't hunt for a perfect plan. They classify, they pick a next best move that protects the constraint, and they push for feedback from reality, not more discussion. They're not committing forever. They're committing to a test, and tests are easier to choose because the goal is learning, not proving you were right. Now, take an elite athlete in a real moment. They don't run a long internal debate mid-play. Their speed comes from pre-made choices, built in practice. So when the moment hits, the brain stays quiet, and the body does what it trained. In the game, they're reading 1 or 2 signals, and those signals trigger a response they've already rehearsed. That's why it looks like instinct, but it's really compression. They took a messy situation and turned it into a small set of patterns. Most people do the opposite in normal life. You keep everything open because you want maximum flexibility. But then pressure shows up and you try to manufacture clarity on the spot. That's how a basic message turns into an hour. You're not writing the message. You're trying to predict how the other person will react, how you'll feel about it after, and what it will mean about you. Your brain starts playing defense. Athletes use if-then rules. If the defender shifts left, cut right. If the shot isn't there, pass. If you're late, simplify the play. That's not robotic. That's removing decision fatigue when it matters. They also treat mistakes like data. They correct, they adjust, they move on. When you attach shame to the outcome, you slow down because every choice becomes a referendum. So let's steal the structure and make it usable at a desk, in a meeting, or staring at your laptop at 11:00 p.m. 3 seconds doesn't mean you don't think. It means you don't start with endless thinking. You start with a filter. Step 1 is filter. Ask, what am I optimizing for right now? Pick one. Speed, quality, learning, relationships, money, reputation, health. If you try to optimize for 5 things, you'll stall, because every option has a different best answer depending on the scoreboard. Step 2 is label. Is this decision reopenable or locking? Most daily choices are reopenable. You can change tools, rewrite the doc, send a follow-up, book a different slot. When you label it reopenable, you earn the right to move fast. If it's locking, you slow down, but you still stay structured. Now, you time box the decision, list the top 2 risks, and decide when the timer ends, not when you feel ready. Step 3 is act, but with a minimum viable move. Not the full plan, not the polished version, just the smallest action that gets real feedback. 1 page and a 15-minute meeting. A 7-day trial on a real project, a 2-minute draft, and a 5-minute send. You're building a loop. Choose, act, learn, update. That loop is what creates the calm you think you need before you start. So why do you take 3 days? It's not because you're lazy. It's because you're trying to feel qualified before you move, and your brain keeps pushing the start line back. It whispers, once you know more, then you can act. But that's a comfort story, not a plan. CEOs and athletes build the qualified feeling from reps, not from thinking. 1 rep creates evidence. 10 reps create patterns. 100 reps create that calm look you keep mistaking for talent. When you wait, you're trying to skip the messy stage where you look average. You want competence without exposure, and that deal doesn't exist. So you hide inside private polishing, tweaking the doc, rewriting the message, rereading the same notes, and calling it preparation. Set a standard that fits the level you're actually playing today. Good enough for this rep is the phrase, because it keeps your ego out of the driver's seat, and it gets you back into motion even when you still feel a little unsure. Then add a timer. 10 minutes to choose, 20 minutes to start. When the timer ends, you act, not because you feel ready, but because readiness comes after contact with reality. Pick 1 delayed decision, something you've been avoiding because it feels annoying. Ask the filter question. Are you optimizing for speed, learning, or quality? Choose 1. Label it, reopenable or locking. If it's reopenable, set 5 minutes. If it's locking, set 30. only if it truly locks. Write 2 lines. Biggest risk, smallest test. Then do the test today, not soon, because your brain respects a date it can't wiggle out of. Use any timer. The tool doesn't matter. The boundary does. Decisive people don't wait for a clean feeling. They build trust by stacking reps under a clear structure. If you want the full paralysis protocol, watch the next video, because it turns this into a repeatable system you can run at work without burning hours. Subscribe if you want more of these frameworks, and pick one decision right after this ends. Set the timer and do the smallest test today. In conclusion, building decision-making speed is not about being reckless or impulsive. It's about developing a structured approach to choosing. By applying the 3-step framework of filter, label, and act, with a focus on minimum viable moves and continuous learning, you can break free from the cycle of indecision and take action towards your goals. Remember, 1 rep creates evidence, 10 reps create patterns, and 100 reps build that calm confidence you admire in others.